Joel, you obviously made your comments known on Kevin a couple weeks ago, but just as you found out the news today, how are you processing it and what's kind of going through it?
Yeah, I was sad for the human being, right? Like you create a relationship 6 years. Um, I'm a loyal person. And we had, a couple playoff runs, 6 years of coaching. Like most of my career, obviously half my career was with him as the head coach. So I was just appreciative. I got to talk to him and just told him I appreciate everything he did for this organization and the way he led us. Greatest sport in the world, tough business. Like that's what the NFL is. And so you go up there and you show you're appreciative. But I was disappointed in it. I think he's a great football coach, and I think he'll get a chance somewhere and show that he can still coach in this league.
How does it affect your decision? Do you want to go through another coaching change?
Right, it's all part of it. I've kind of been saying like my body, how I feel is going to be the number one decision, but you got to, know who you're playing for and the situation that you're going to step into. So it's definitely a factor.
Is your timetable to let them know before free agency happens?
Yeah, I think my contract voids in 6 or 8 weeks or something like that. So probably got to make a decision before that.
Joel, a lot of guys have talked about just the relationships they've built with Kevin. What is it that's unique about the way he builds and connects with you guys?
Yeah, he's had a leadership meeting probably every week since he's been here. So I've had that, meeting for 6 years, once a week. He calls you in the off season to check on you, cares about your family and what they're doing. Just all those type of relationships. He jokes around with you. He's got a different sense of humor. So sometimes it took me a while to be like, all right, is this a real joke right now? Are you being serious? So all those things play a factor. But I think it's just who he is every day. Like he was so consistent, and I've talked about that forever. His consistency was never ride the roller coaster, and that's just who he was every day.
Joel, obviously Andrew gets to stay, and he's going to run the coaching search and try to figure this out. You've been around him for a long time too. So, what are your impressions of him? Do you think he's still the right guy to lead this organization?
Yeah, he's he was here even before he got the GM job, so I had a relationship with him. I think when I signed my first contract extension, he was in the building. So we've been together for a long time, and I have a lot of respect for AB and how he's done his job, and I think we have all the faith in the world that he can find a coach that's going to help lead this team. He hopefully we can hit another draft like this last year and help rebuild some of the holes on the roster. But from what he's done, he's professional. Like he's smart. He does all those things. Like checks all those boxes.
Joel, you've pretty much seen it all since you've been here, and one of the things Jimmy highlighted this morning was, hey, 8 wins in 2 years just doesn't cut it. What's it going to take for this franchise to get this thing on track on a consistent basis, whereas it's like one good season followed by a couple of bad, and then you're having to retool and rebuild to get back to where you want to be?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, the National Football League is a quarterback league, right? Like if you have an elite quarterback in this league, it allows you to be a little bit more sustained in your success, right? And it's not me saying like, do we know if Shador or Dylan or Deshaun or Bailey or any of these guys that guy, right? We have those guys in our locker room, but until you have a guy that can stay healthy and can be on the field and be that guy for your team, like it's hard to have that sustained success. Like look at all the playoff teams this year, all the teams that consistently make it every year. It's usually the Patrick Mahomes, the Josh Allens, the great quarterbacks in this league. And so until you find one that's stable and can lead your team, it's going to be hard to not ride the roller coaster of wins and losses.
Joel, when a lot of times. What's I think done.
Well,
you've played with so many of them, but
yeah.
Do you know what a great quarterback looks like when you see it?
I mean, we've had some runs, right? Like we had some stretches of football where it was fun to be out there, fun to be around, and so I think you see those moments and you're like, this would be pretty cool. When you win 11 games in a season, like it makes the season, so much better. And so you have those moments of like, this has been great football and the quarterback's playing great football and it gives you a chance to win every time you take the field.
So a lot of times when a coaching change is made, they go from either a fiery guy to a calmer guy, and now maybe back to a fiery guy. Do you think that's important?
No, I think what the guy does, culture building, like the X's and O's of whatever scheme or who he hires to run those schemes, is a lot more important than if he yells or if he's calm.
Do you think that this team is close enough to really turn things around next season?
Yeah, I think the defense, I know it's year to year on a lot of things, but I think the defense plays at a top 5 level, you know what I mean, still, and the offense can improve enough to be, a help. You can find some more wins. Like every team you can nitpick wins, but you look at, 3 or 4 or 5 games that we had this year, the division was won at 9-8. Like there's a chance to compete for the division, I think, if you can improve some of the holes that you have and put together a coaching staff.
Joel, I know you don't have a decision yet, obviously, but I mean, in general, with this O-line, does it feel like kind of a big transition off-season for you guys, just given where contracts are, or at least the potential for that, obviously?
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, Jack, Wyatt, myself, Posick, I think Tevin, I think most of the guys, Cam Robinson, are all, there might be 5 or 6 guys under contract. So I think it's definitely going to be a big transition, for the offense. And, all great things come to an end, right? Like we had a nice run with this group of guys and the people that did it. And, I'll always appreciate going to war with them. But, I think they're going to be a transition period for sure.
I mean, how crazy is it? Like, there was stability for basically like 5 or 6 years. I mean,
Yeah.
a slight turnover like JC to
Right.
Poe, but I mean, to stay together with a group this long.
Yeah, no, it was great. You get to know the people, you get to know their families, you get to know, how they play and what motivates them. So it was fun. It was a fun run of that group of guys.
Joe, there's a bunch of defensive guys that made a case for Jim Schwartz, maybe to even be the head coach.
Yeah.
You've been around it for a little bit. What are your thoughts on that? Have you gotten enough to know well enough to think that he could be good in that role?
Yeah, he's a good coach, man. I think everywhere he's been, the defense has improved and gotten better. Like you can look at his track record with when he got to the Eagles, when he got to Buffalo, all those things. Like there was big jumps when he came here. Our defense has been probably overall the last 3 years, if not the best, one of the best units in the league. The defense plays with a swagger and a culture, and it's different. Like it's easy to just tell the defense to like go run to the ball, you know what I mean, and like stuff. So there's a little difference there, but I think what he's done as a coach, he definitely deserves a look to be a head coach.
Joel, do you think you expect Kevin to, whether it's soon or later, be an NFL head coach again?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know what his plans are. You know what I mean? If he's gonna take a year off or go, be an OC, but I think he will be a head coach in the NFL, probably sooner rather than later.
Joel, you mentioned that who gets the job will, be at least a factor in your decision. I guess with that in mind, what are the things that, you specifically maybe are going to look for in a head coach, or one head coach that you think is best for the organization if you were to come back?
Yeah, I think the culture they build, right? Like, and it's hard to tell, just meeting somebody, but what kind of their standards are, what they do, holding people accountable, all those things are a factor. What staff they put together, if it's a defensive coach, who they're hiring at the OC, if it's an offensive coach, who's their defensive coordinators. Like your position coach is the person you work with the most, right? So like you bring in someone that you trust or you know of. All those things are factors, but I just think it's like, how do you build a culture, and who do you bring on your staff would probably be the most important things.
Joel, obviously, I know you're going to weigh your options
Yeah.
for a while, but if you do decide this is it for you, how meaningful would it be for you to win your last 2 games against division opponents you played a bunch?
Yeah, it was great. Anytime you beat Pittsburgh, and since the division guys, like it's extra special, and you don't know like if it is the last, if it's not. I definitely took in the moments yesterday a little bit in case it is the last, but I was happy to walk off with a win. I remember my first win. I don't know if anybody remembers, but it was Saints, week 2 of 2014. walk-off field goal, Billy Cundiff. We beat the Saints on a walk-off, and then I was like, if this one happens to be the last one, walk-off field goal against the Bengals, you know, so that'd be a cool way to kind of cap it. But I'm just so focused on my family right now and how I'm going to recover here in the next few weeks, and then I'll make a more informed decision in a few weeks.
Did you say you feel different now than you did last year about the retirement decision?
It's pretty similar. I think it's just like, and it's so hard, you know, you get to the off season no matter what, there's just like sigh of like, you know, it's hard to be like, hey, I'm retiring right now, and you don't do anything till June or July anyway, so it's tough to make the decision. So I think I'm in a similar boat as I was last year.
With that though, Joel, if this is the end, how do you look back on your 12-year career?
With great pride. You know, it's hard to put into words. You know, I just tried to give it everything. So it's tough, you know. You try and go out there and be the best version of yourself and do what you can to help the team win, and I try to do that every day. That's what I did.
Joel, it looked like real early yesterday. You know, normally you said before you're the kind of guy that stays in the locker room. It looked like you were kind of out there in the end zone, kind of taking everything in. Had you done that before this year, or?
Well, truthfully, yesterday I was my family came down, so I was trying to find out where they were sitting in the stands. I usually walk out there if I hadn't played in a stadium in a while. Like Chicago, I walked out beforehand just to get a feel of it. But I've played in Cincy so many times that I knew what I was kind of looking for their section before the game. So it wasn't anything too crazy. I just wanted to know where they were sitting at.